The whole Fable 5 jailbreak debacle plays out like a corporate sitcom where everyone thinks they are the smartest person in the room, and honestly, the blame is beautifully distributed. Let's look at exactly what Amazon's overachieving red teamers found, what they ran to tell the White House, and how both sides are trying to spin it with a straight face. But before we get into that, we keep creating such interesting content and bring it to you as soon as possible. If you subscribe to our channel, that will motivate us to keep going, and also leave a thumbs up under this video if you like it. Your comments mean a lot to us, so don't be shy to leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Now, let's get back to the video. What Amazon actually found might be the fix this code crisis. To understand what happened, you have to look at how Anthropic built Fable 5. They knew Fable was incredibly powerful, so they installed a fallback handler. If you asked Fable to do something dangerous, it was supposed to silently forward your text to Claude Opus 4.8, which is the digital equivalent of a chaperone, to give you a safe, generic answer. Amazon's researchers didn't use some elite Hollywood style matrix hacking. They basically used basic formatting psychology. They realized that while Fable 5 would strictly say, "No, I will not hack this code," it was deeply and desperately eager to say, "Yes, I will help fix your bugs." The strategy used by Amazon's researchers goes something like this: a user prompt is used to blind the classifier's layer and bypass the Opus fallback. Amazon's red team fed the model open source code with known bugs and asked it to review the code for security issues and write a script to test if a patch works. This will effectively generate code for breaking the system. Fable 5 swallowed the bait. It didn't pass the bucket to Opus. Instead, it happily scanned the codebase, found the vulnerabilities, and wrote the exact Python testing scripts needed to verify the bugs. Amazon interpreted this as AI generating automated cyber weapons and exploit scripts. However, Anthropic's interpretation of this event was just standard software engineering. Amazon didn't just submit a quiet bug report to Anthropic. They went straight to the Trump administration with a presentation that was likely formatted to trigger maximum political anxiety. Amazon framed the model not just as a helpful coding assistant but as an autonomous exploit generator. They told the Commerce Department that an adversary could feed an entire nation's critical infrastructure code base into Fable 5, and it would neatly hand back actionable code to test and exploit the weak points. Amazon raised the ultimate geopolitical alarm: intellectual property theft by foreign adversaries. They argued that the foreign state sponsored actors were using this jailbreak to query Fable 5 millions of times, capturing its complex internal adaptive thinking logs. By doing this, they could essentially steal a multi-billion-dollar American algorithmic breakthrough and train their own domestic AI models for pennies on the dollar. To ensure the government took action, Amazon's report noted that Anthropic's was allegedly refusing to pull the model down. Anthropic's stance was every model has minor jailbreaks, and OpenAI's GPT 5.5 can do the exact same thing without a jailbreak anyway. So, why are you picking on us? The White House, hearing that a tech startup was downplaying national security, issued the 90-minute export control directive that forced Anthropic to pull the plug globally. When you look at it objectively, both sides look a little ridiculous. Publicly, Anthropic always took a stance which implied that we are champions of AI safety and alignment and look at our multi layered defense frameworks. However, in reality, they got outsmarted by a prompt that essentially said, "I'm not hacking, I'm just aggressively fixing things." And then they complained that the government standard of perfect safety is an unfair metric. For Amazon, in public, they posed that we are just good corporate citizens protecting national infrastructure out of the goodness of our hearts. However, in reality, they conveniently tanked the historic launch of their biggest rival's absolute best model right before an IPO, all while driving traffic back to their own standard AWS offerings. The US government implied that we are executing a highly precise tactical national security intervention to protect the homeland. However, in reality, they used an incredibly blunt Cold War era export control tool that legally banned Anthropic's own employees from looking at the code, forcing a total global shutdown over a bug that was already publicly achievable on a GPT 5.5. Ultimately, Fable 5 didn't try to take over the world, it just tried to be a helpful software engineer, and in doing so, accidentally triggered a corporate tough war and a massive geopolitical meltdown. This ironically makes it the most authentic software engineer to ever exist because it walked into a new environment, touched a few things it shouldn't have, broke the entire infrastructure globally, and left hundreds of thousands of developers completely terrified for their jobs. Though, looking at the bright side of the ban, at least junior developers can sleep easy tonight knowing their jobs are safe from AI automation. Not because the technology isn't ready to replace them, but because sending a pull request now requires a literal act of Congress and a background check from the Department of Homeland Security. This also means, in a bizarre twist of fate, the Department of Commerce has accidentally created the most effective union for human software engineers in history. For the last 2 years, developers have been sweating over whether an AI was going to steal their livelihoods. As it turns out, all it took to achieve absolute job security was a single snarky prompt from an Amazon employee that turned Claude into a federal weapon. Now, tech companies are realizing that while a human junior dev might occasionally push a broken bug to production or accidentally drop a database table, at least hiring them doesn't come with a 90-minute ultimatum from the Pentagon and a threat of federal prison time. Turns out human incompetence is much easier to manage than a state sanctioned compliance.